Hey everyone, it's Maximilian, and I'm here playing Pokemon. That's right, Pokemon, the classic that you used to love when you were a kid. When your inner child got sucked into that phenomenon that swept the nation, and the Japanese people basically took over America for about 2 years with this game. It was in freaking sane. I remember getting this game in 1998. Gosh, that sounds so long ago. And I was just addicted to it, like pretty much every other child between the ages of 6 and 12 was in America at the time. And I even now I still love this game a lot. Like this is an absolute classic. It's simple, but it's absolutely brilliant. Like the guy who came up with the concept for this game is probably rolling in it right now. You have no idea. I actually looked up to see how many total units of Pokemon Red and Blue they sold. Just between those two games alone, they've sold over 20 million copies. It's actually only outsold for the Game Boy by Tetris, which had I think about 5 million more units sold. But that's because it actually came bundled with the original Game Boys. So in reality, if you want to just go by sales of units outside of the ones that have been bundled, this probably beats it out, which is ridiculous. Like, it's amazing how legendary this game has become and the status that it's achieved. It's actually the second best selling franchise Pokemon is, only to Mario. Like, when you're up in that kind of company, you know that you're doing something right. I was actually bored on a road trip one day and noticed I had a Pokemon ROM on my computer, so I figured, well, let's kill some time. I mean, I got nothing better to do than sit here, right? So I whipped out my computer and started playing Pokemon, and it brings back so many memories and so much joy because I've played this game way too many times. I've probably played through the entire game about 20 times, and it just never gets old. There is something about this game that just continuously brings me back. Like, no matter what, if I have like a long plane ride or car trip, anything more than 3 hours or so, I'm definitely bringing my Game Boy and Pokemon because this thing just eats hours like nothing else. It is God's gift to mankind if you want to kill some time. A single playthrough, like just getting from the start of the game to being the Elite Four and catching your Mewtwo, will take about 25 hours on average. Like this game is just built to eat time. It's absolutely great for it. And it's fun too. This game is addicting. This is one of those games that you can just play for hours and hours and hours and never put down. You will not get tired of it. It's so brilliant. I can't put into words how much I love this game. Um, but yeah, so I figured, well, let's record a playthrough so I can show you guys what exactly my strategy is when I play through Red and Blue. And yeah, basically just run through how I go about playing the game. Because I know there's a lot of different ways to approach this game, so I thought I'd show you my take on it, because I've pretty much tried every different way you can think of going through the game. But I'm going to go back to my original strategy, back when I first got my Red Edition. It was the first game I got for my Game Boy, and I unfortunately lost it a few years ago. I know, it's a sad day. That thing is like an artifact. But I loved it so much. So, normally what I would do when I start off my red gameplay is I would take Charmander. And I know that's not exactly advantageous, considering that your first gym leader has Pokemon that are incredibly resistant to a fire type and normal type attacks, which is pretty much all you have for the beginning of the game, because the majority of the Pokemon you can find before that gym don't typecast. But even though you're not taking Squirtle or Bulbasaur, which have an obvious advantage over the first few gym leaders, Charmander is by far the best Pokemon in the long run. Not only does he gain better stats than the other two, but against the rest of the gym leaders, after you get past the first two, he is amazing, a force to be reckoned with. And Charizard is honestly the coolest looking of the three when they're fully evolved. So, yeah, I mean, there's really no comparison there. One little minor thing to know, though, is that when you do pick your first Pokemon and you fight Gary for the first time, Charmander actually has a speed advantage on the other two, And it's kind of interesting because as far as their attack and defense stats are concerned, they are all exactly the same when they start off at level 5. So that really won't help you there, but the fact that Charmander has a higher speed rating than either Squirtle or Bulbasaur will ensure that you get the first attack, because he's going to pick Squirtle, and it didn't really matter if he picked Bulbasaur either, in case your rival got stupid. But if you can land the first attack in that battle, you're pretty much guaranteed a victory. Unless, of course, you happen to get the short end of the stick, and one of your attacks misses, or he crits you. But such is life. Just getting a Pidgey here. Pidgey is actually a very valuable Pokemon in the long run. Not just in the early game for the sake of having someone else to fill a slot in your party. Not only does he fly, and flying is absolutely essential to this game if you want to be able to move through it quickly and not waste your time walking from place to place, because that is just slow as can be. But Pidgey is actually very easy to raise. It takes minimal experience to grow at levels. And the flying type cast ability is very good. Not only does it kill bugs and grass types, but Pidgey also evades ground attacks, which can be very useful. Especially considering when you're fighting rock and ground type Pokemon every time you're traveling through a cave or when you're facing Giovanni. Pidgey's attacks are actually quite powerful too for a fairly weak Pokemon in most people's opinion. Its attacks aren't anything to scoff at. They're quite good. So the first thing I usually do anytime I play Pokemon is as soon as I can get my hands on a Pokeball, I go grab a Pidgey. Because they're very easy to catch, and they're very easy to find. And they're a very essential part of your party toolkit. Granted, you could probably substitute it for something else later in the game, but for easily through the first 4 gyms at the very least, you will be using Pidgey nonstop. So now that I've got my Pidgey, I'm going to try to fight other Pokemon with it, although should that fail, and I think it does here, what I'll do is resort to bait and switch, which is a rather common tactic when playing Pokemon, to push your low-level Pokemon out first, so that it technically fights in the battle, and then switch to your Pokemon which you know is strong enough to take the enemy down. So that way it will divide the experience evenly between them. It's actually a very great way to raise new Pokemon that you just catch, because the trick to this game, to being successful at this game, is to raise your Pokemon evenly. And I know it's difficult, and I know a lot of people who play this game generally don't do it, but any time that you plan on using a Pokemon for more than a utility purpose, you need to raise it evenly with the rest of your party. And it really pays off in the long run, because not only will you have more solid and balanced team, but anytime that you do need a backup option, you have that instead of a level 100 Charizard and a bunch of level 3 random guys that you just happen to pick up along the way. So yeah, right now I'm trying to give Pidgey some levels, because poor guy needs it. Once I raise him up enough to like level 4 or 5, I'll actually start fighting on his own, because for the most part, level 3 Pidgey can't really hold its own in for the first few areas of the game. So just bait and switch it a little bit, try and fight with it, and then eventually it'll be able to fight on its own and gain its own levels. That's basically what I do for every Pokemon I catch, is get it up to par, and then just start using it like crazy. But yeah, I'm hoping that you all will enjoy this kind of thing. I plan on posting as much of this as possible, trying to keep it as unabridged as possible, so that way you can see everything that I do in it, from like gathering random items on item finders to all the different Pokemon I catch and all the battles I fight. But like, if I'm going to be like scramming around in an area for hours on end trying to find a specific Pokemon, then I'm obviously going to cut that out. That's not going to be in there, because you don't need to see me bonking around left and right, over and over again, just to get like a stupid Pikachu, which is actually what I'm going to do with coming up shortly in this playthrough. But let me know if if you would like it unabridged, or if you'd like to see it cut more, because I just figure the more unabridged it would be, the more thorough it would be. However, it would mean that it would take longer for you, the viewer, to get through all the gameplay. So that's not necessarily a plus. But that's basically it. This is the first playthrough I had. I'm going to save the game at the end of every session instead of frequently. So I hope you enjoyed it. All right, I will see you next time.